Okay, so I've gotten quite a few questions and requests about different electrical portions of this LS swap. So I'm just going to give a big picture overview of what I did for this LS swap. I'm not going to go into details. This is just a big picture. I know when I first started this, it was kind of overwhelming. You don't know where to start, and I started pulling wires out before I really knew what I was pulling. So give a background. It's a 91 Camaro. It's just an RS. It is, when I purchased this, there was no motor, no transmission. Originally this RS came with a 6-cylinder and T5 transmission, I think, manual. What I currently have is a 6-liter LS. It's a LQ4. Came out of a work van. The transmission is a 4L80E. It also came out of a separate work van. The motor, I got it as a package deal. Came with the computer and the wiring harness. That's the background. Let me give you a quick rundown on where I started and just give you a few pointers on milestones that I ended up having to go through. Once again, quick overview, big picture, not a lot of details, at least I don't think so. First thing I would do, if you're starting, or even if you've already started and you're halfway through, start taking notes. I keep all these. This right here is still for my truck. The truck, I still have to reference my notes all the time to figure out what I wired, where I wired it. So trucks, this is my little push button start signal. Here's all, see, I got truck stuff here. Here's where I started making notes on the Camaro when I started pulling wires out. Notes are a big deal. I will not remember crap from day to day. Especially won't remember crap week to week or a year later. So I have to take notes all the time. I like to print out these electrical drawings. This is stock electrical drawings for the year vehicle that you have. You can save them electronically. In fact, I try to save them electronically as well, but I just don't. I work better with paper in hand. That way I can always make notes on it. Alright, so originally this is probably what you see coming through the firewall back here. This plug right here is called the C100. Alright, when you unbolt that center bolt out of the middle of this plug, you can pop it out, and it's just a bulkhead connector. It's a firewall connector, some pins to connect wires to the inside. But when you pull this apart, it'll come apart in two pieces. There's a smaller half over here and a larger half right here. Smaller half, it goes down the frame rail. This is it right here. It just follows it down. All that does is go to your it'll go to your horn down here in your in your wheel well. It'll go to your lights. It goes to your side marker light. It also has the windshield wiper motor. That's what it is. The pump, not the motor, the pump. Why I left this, I don't know. I'm never going to put it back in, but there it is. Anyways, after it does these lights on this side, that same bundle of wires will run across underneath, hit the lights over here, as well as the side marker light down there. So that's the left side. The right side is a little bit larger bundle. It goes primarily, it'll go up, it'll hit your windshield wiper motor right there. It'll run all the way across here. It actually taps off and goes down to your starter. That's your actual, for your starter solenoids. Comes all the way across. It'll go to your blower motor. If you have AC or if you're still having your heater, this is your blower motor right here for your heater, as well as your little thermostat for your, that's your resistor for changing the speeds of your fan. But anyways, it's all the controls for that. So like I said, if you want to, you need to make sure you save notes. This right here If you do a Google search on just C100, bulkhead connector C100, this is what you'll see. This is what I used. You got your left half, which is your smaller portion. This is the one that goes to all your lights. If you can see little designations, G1, G2, you can follow it all out right here, like G1, G2, horns, exterior lights, turn signal. Here's your C100. This is where you see all the wires for your C100 and what it goes to. A lot of it may not be used. Headlight doors, not used. You're just going to have to go through this yourself and find out what you use and what you're not using. A lot of it I did not use. I actually just used it as a spare. This right here is supplemental inflatable restraint. This is a little airbag sensor. I cut it out, therefore now that wire is spare. One thing about a lot of this C100 stuff is it's all more or less supplemental stuff. It's all the extra stuff, headlights, horns, windshield wipers, it's blower motor for your heater. It's stuff that is not needed for the motor to run. It's all extra add-on stuff. Makes you'll see originally you would have had a bundle of wires come up through here and go out and fan out to your motor. That bundle of wires is what goes to your ECM, your computer. And most of the people that are watching this are not using their stock computer. You can rip all that out. Don't just blindly start cutting wires, but actually know what you're pulling out. But you're not going to be using those wires anymore. If you have your own computer, you're going to use that and the wiring harness there. That bundle of wire that came up through here, that's what fed your coils. It's also what fed your little injectors. It fed any instrumentation on the motor, your IACs, your inlet air temp monitor, your mass airflow. It goes to your engine oil temperature sensor. It did all the computer work required to run the motor. Not so much start it, but actually keep it up and running and monitoring the motor. And you have your own computer and wiring harness. This bundle of wire, I pulled that bundle of wire out and it's gone. What it did was it goes down in through the wheel well, and it actually go behind this right here and go through the quarter panel. So that bundle of wire would come through here. It went up. I've already got my little panel in place right here, but up here is where your stock computer is and or was. I've got another video out that actually shows me tearing into it and pulling it out. You can look at it and you can actually see two little white plugs. That's what actually plugged into the computer. I got another drawn for that white plug. I keep all my stuff, but if you haven't noticed, I'm not real organized with it, but I've got it handy. Alright, so this is your harness connector faces. This is actually what this is a C207 connector. The other one was a C100. This is a 207, excuse me. Got two halves right here. You can see everything through here that I've ended up making notes on. This F pin right here, I spliced into it. I used it just for, that's all it is a pink and black wire. All it is a 12 volt source. I use it as a 12 volt source. I'm feeding my wideband and my brake switch. This one right here, this orange one right here, this is another 12 volt source. I just stole it, feeding my OBT2. It's a 12 volt battery. Originally it was interior lights or underhood light. I don't have any underhood lights anymore, so here's another connector right here, the C1 to C2. This is actually on your instrument cluster. This is where you're going to splice in a bunch of other wires. On your computer, I got at the 207 plug, which is back here, this brown and white, which is your, it's this SES indicator. It's more or less your malfunction light, your check engine light. Here's another one that came from your 207 that I spliced into my 207 as my speed input. It's brown wire. Alright, so once again, just a quick recap. C100 right here. Auxiliaries, lights, creature comforts, horns, blower motor for your fan, windshield wipers. Not required to run the vehicle, but definitely some things on here you want to keep. So now let's talk about what I did with the computer. First things first is I mounted the computer for me, I thought it was a pretty obvious spot, was just right here. Like I said, I had the whole wiring harness that came with the motor. Everything was kind of pre-bent like this, so this is just seemed like the natural place to put it was right here. As far as power goes, originally the battery goes up here. I actually put it in the rear wheel well where the spare tire goes. Run some heavy gauge wire all the way up through the firewall here and landed it right there. And this is where I'm getting all my power for the computer, as well as the source of power for everything else in this car. I do have a wire that comes from here and feeds the original fuse block in the car. I also have another gauge wire that comes and feeds this other fuse block that I installed outside. This right here feeds other things such as, let me get my drawing. So here's my current drawing for that fuse panel, kind of a map. So I got one fuse that feeds nothing but the PCM, the power wire that goes to the transmission for wiring all the switches on the transmission. I got a power wire going to the mass airflow. I got one for both coil pack number 1 and pack 2, so this one fuse feeds all my coils. I got injectors. I have another small 10 amp fuse just for the controls, the relays for my fan. I got another one right here for the ECM. This right here is your ECM. This is a 12 volt battery source, so I always have 12 volts going to the ECM. This one up here, this PCM is actually ignition, this keyed. So when you turn the key on, all these are keyed power. This one right here is battery. So this is always powered all times. So here's the big thing that really was daunting. And like I said, I've got a video coming out. I have not put it out yet, but I've already got footage of it. But the actual wiring of the motor itself, or excuse me, of the computer, all the computer and the wiring harness, the motor engine wiring harness, is probably the most daunting and what everybody is most scared of. I know I was. You can get these pinouts online. You just have to do a search. It'll tell you like this blue wires and stuff that are kind of optional. See, this is actually for fan 2 controller. If you only have one fan and it's a single speed fan, you don't need this wire. You got 2 connectors on the computer. You got a green connector and a blue connector. And you notice a lot of these are not used. I mean, this looks daunting, but as soon as you start actually looking at each one of them and you take your time and just think about it, it'll come together for you. All right, like this one right here, I had to write a note. All the yellows were pulling. AC refrigerant pressure switch, nope. Clutch start switch, nope. Even though this was a manual to start with, I'm not using that. Axle switch, pull it. It's yellow, it's getting pulled. EVAPs, pull it. There's a bunch of other, here's some fuel tank pressure sensor signals. We don't need that either. You go through, like some of the blue ones are stuff that you can add if you feel you need to. Like this one right here is a low speed cooling fan control. I had to add that one right there. This right here, this MIL control, this is a malfunction indicator light. So that's what gives you your check engine light. I had to add it. Pretty daunting even with me trying to explain it to you. I'm probably even scaring more people. It's not as difficult as you think. There's a guy that the same guy that put these spreadsheets out, and you'll find them online. I want to say it's like LT1 swap, something like that. But he has all this information online. You can download this stuff. They have a lot of information. The biggest information takeaway is he's got YouTube videos out there that shows him completely redoing these connectors. All right, it's like a 3-part video, 3 different videos. As he's going through, he's pulling wires out of each one of these little connectors. So you see all those wires down there. That's the connectors down there. There's 2 connectors. And all them wires, that's where we were pulling wires out. And he does a very good job as he's going through each one, showing you how to find the wire and what the wires do, whether you need it or not. You can see in here, there's a whole bundle of wires down there that I ripped out. That's another key takeaway, is don't throw away anything until you know that you don't need it. All right, well, that's about all I've got. Key takeaways, check online. Huge amount of information, just about everything. I learned it all online. You can learn it all online too. Ensure you keep good notes. Keep everything. I'm terrible at organization, but I keep it. I got the notes. I can eventually find it. Might take me a little bit longer because it's not organized, but I've got the information available. And if you don't have it, out there on the internet, somebody's got it. There's a couple of huge resources out there. LSX Matt YouTube channel. He did this to a 3rd gen Camaro just like this. He's also got a 3rd gen Trans Am that he's currently doing. He did a very good job on the wiring on that as far as explaining that. Check him out. I believe, like I said, the LT swap, LT1, LT swap, I don't know, remember what it is. Computer wise information, wiring of the computer, excellent source. All the information here plus the videos that he's got out there will help immensely. I'm sorry if I didn't quite answer what a couple of y'all asked me. Like I said, it's something you're just going to have to, if you have stumbling blocks, I mean, everybody's going to have stumbling blocks. You got to ask specific questions, and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. And that's all I got, man. Like I said, I wanted to make this quick and dirty. It may have turned out a little bit longer than what I was fully expecting. It may not have come out as an answer all for everybody. In fact, I'm hoping it doesn't create more questions, or if it does, maybe I pointed you in the right direction to be able to find answers to those questions. But that's all I got. I'm gonna close this up and try to put this out right away. All right, guys. Later.